In this video, I'm going to teach you how to add custom materials to your material library and paint them quickly onto a surface so that you can get a good idea of how these materials might look within your space. So to begin, I'd like to just show you how to obtain material swatches for your materials library. And if you go to Google, you can just go ahead and begin by searching, like I have done here, for a wood flooring swatch. Now, I am in Google Images instead of just Google proper. And so if you go to google.com, I'll show you how to get here. Go to the Images tab, and you can search for wood flooring swatch. Now, you want to include the word swatch because then what you will get is flat pictures like this that actually will work much better for rendering in your materials library in Revit than something that looks like this. You can also go to the tools and hit this drop down and get only large images, and a higher resolution image will increase the quality of the render output that you create. So once you've got that, then all you need to do is go back to Revit and go, save your image, of course, into wherever you keep such things, and go ahead to the Manage tab, and you're going to go over to Materials. Now, there's a couple different ways to add materials to your material library. You can start by just hitting this plus button, and it'll create essentially an empty material that you can populate. But I actually like to, if I'm going to use a new material type for wood flooring, I like to actually build it based off of an existing swatch, and you'll see why in a second. So if I go to the oak flooring here, you can see that there's a couple of tabs that pop up. If you go to the identity here, you will see some more specific types of information about the wood that you can populate. You can also mark this finish, and it will coordinate to a material tag in a little bit more sophisticated method of tracking materials. You can go to the graphics tab, and this is how it's going to show in a quick graphic way, almost like a filled region. So it's really just kind of generic line work here. And you can see here it's showing as wood. If you cut through it, it's going to look like this. If you do a quick rendering, it's going to show this color. But if you go to the Appearance tab, here you can see how it will look realistically. Okay, so this is basically the render appearance, and this is the graphic appearance. And that's, as I said, similar to how we would do a finish layer versus a filled region. One is just kind of line work and looks like line work, and the other one is a bit more realistic finish. So what I'm going to do is click on wood flooring, and I'm going to duplicate. And I'm going to rename this Distressed Multi. Okay, so here's my new finish right here. And you can also name these, with wood at the beginning so that all the wood sorts together. But here's my new material. And you can see here graphically, it's got the same representation because it's still wood, although I can change this to maybe look like it's gray so that I can distinguish it if I, for example, have two different wood types in there. Next, I'm going to go to the Materials tab. And you can see here, this is the image of the wood, the photorealistic image, but that's not what I want this to look like, right? I want it to look different. So I can click on this and hit Edit Image. Okay. And if I click on here, it's going to allow me to select a different image. So wherever you've saved your material swatch, in my case, I'm going to go grab it from my folder. Okay, so now it's populating here. Now, the first time I did this, it came in and said it was only 1.5 or 1 foot 11 inches. And I want you to pay attention to the dimension lines that you're seeing here. It's reading it as 2 feet 3¼ inches. But in actuality, if I look at that swatch, and I imagine that this typical wood planks would be anything between 4 and 6 inches wide, this swatch is not 2 feet 3¾ of an inch. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 planks wide, roughly 4 inches wide each. So this is actually a 36-inch wide by 36-inch wide swatch. So what I need to do is change the size here. Okay, so this button is locked, which means that the sample size, width, and height will be the same. If I uncheck it, then I could change this to be, for example, 3 feet wide by 6 inches, let's just say. And then it'll be a little bit distorted. So we don't want that. We want to keep it locked. And we want them to be the same. Okay. For the rest, that's good to go. Now there is some other information here. You can adjust the glossiness of the finish. We can change this to a satin finish because this distressed finish is normally not all that shiny. The rest of this I usually don't mess with because this has more to do with the expansion and contraction of other materials, not necessarily flooring. So once I hit apply and OK, this finish is now in my materials library, and I can paint it now onto this floor. Now keep in mind that material swatch that I just put in is 36 by 36, and this space, just this space right here, is 22 feet wide by roughly, what does it say here, 27 feet. Okay, so this is a big space, just this area right here. So let's go ahead and go to the modify command and let's paint some finishes. It's in alphabetical order, so my distressed wood is here. Double click and paint. And it hasn't changed, and that's because this is still a graphic representation. If I go here and hit realistic, it'll change. Now it's a little bit slow to work with a file that's got a realistic rendered appearance on the floor, so it's better really to just kind of save that for right as you're about to make your presentation, change it. But it will help you see how the materials are rendering. And what I want you to pay attention right here is the effect of tiling. And this is a really important thing for you to be aware of, because it really does compromise the quality of a rendering to have the finishes be tiled like this. So as I said, it's fine for a quick showing to say, okay, well, this will work well in this space, and it looks okay with the lighting, and it matches the wall color, for example. But if you were going to do a really nice rendering for either marketing materials or for a client or your portfolio, having materials tile like this is not ideal, because it just kind of shows that you don't have necessarily yet a nuanced understanding of how to make the materials function perfectly within a rendering. But as I said, for a quick representation, it works just great. So you know now how to find swatches through a Google search using search categories to get high resolution images. You know how to create custom materials in the materials library and apply it by painting a surface. And you also know how to identify if a material is tiling.